Welcome to Hands, Heart, and Hustle, where we talk about real growth in life, business, faith, and health. This is the show where we dig deep into the drive, purpose, and passion that fuel everyday people doing extraordinary things. I'm your host, Juan Briseño. Let's get into it. Every man's got a moment where he decides to change, to step up, to fight for something bigger. My guest today, Richard Macias, did exactly that. From the struggles of his past to building his WarpathFit, he's been on a mission to help men find their strength, their discipline, and their purpose through fitness. Hey, Richard, thank you so much, brother, for being on the show.
Of course.
We're going to talk some life and just your journey, how it's been. And I mean, you're an influence to me because I went on your program.
Yeah.
And you really dialed down my nutrition. Right now, it's like I was lost with the previous coach.
Yeah.
And I was almost scared of asking him questions because it's like you get your head chewed off.
Yeah, I've heard about that. You know, I've heard a lot of people have some issues with that. But yeah, no, of course, man. Nutrition's like a big part of it too. So if you don't get that down, it's going to be real hard, you know?
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, you look great, bro.
Thank you.
I see your stories and your posts, man. Your family's beautiful family. So
Thank you.
Yeah, again, just thank you for being here.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
So can you tell me a little bit how WarpathFit started?
Yeah. So basically, I mean, I was struggling too. So I was at the point where, you know, many guys are where, you know, they're reaching out for help. They're looking for something. So back in 2019 is when I started, and I was 260 pounds.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, I'm only 5'8", 5'7", 5'8". So being 260 pounds on a 5'7" frame,
yeah,
it's not good, you know, and I felt it. So that's where I feel like I have a lot of like compassion for people, because I'm a coach that has experienced that side of it,
right?
Versus being somebody that's always been in shape, you know. I grew up being an athlete, but then I lost myself, you know, but I've always been like somebody that struggled with his weight. I've always been like that huskier type of shorter kid, right? So I always envied the guys, all my friends that were born with abs, you know, they were skinny, and you know, me coming from a Hispanic background, like nobody like that looked like, you know, the food, everybody. So basically how that started was, you know, I reached out, I got help, I got with a mentor and a coach, and I started changing myself, right? But you know, I was struggling with not only the food portion, I was struggling with addiction. I was struggling with alcohol, just being in a bad spot, and I was using the alcohol to mask everything, right? So it was at a point where, man, I was losing my family, I was losing my health. Obviously, I was lost. I was losing myself. So once I started on my journey and I started changing myself, I was like, okay, I need to reinvent myself. I felt like Richard was no longer who I was, in the sense that Richard's lazy. Richard's undisciplined, you know. Richard's all the bad stuff that led me up to being a 260 pound guy that was struggling with addiction. So I was like, I need to kill this guy. Yeah. I need to start fresh and start something new. So I was like, I'm going to reinvent myself, and I need to put a name on it. I need to put something there to kind of call myself something, right? That alter ego type.
Yeah, exactly.
And so that's where Warpath came from. And how I came about that name was, I was trying to think of something that's going to symbolize the journey that I was on, right? That hard, hostile, blood, sweat, tears, going through this journey, going through this path, but to get to a destination that I knew was going to help me and I was going to come out better at the end. So that's how I developed Warpath, right? And so whenever I felt lazy, when I felt undisciplined, that's where Warpath came. And I no longer was Richard, who was that guy that was struggling, you know? So that's what literally led me into being Warpath, and I fell into that identity. Yeah. And I just truly just started like, I brainwashed myself, you know? And it was over. It was over since that point on. So then I just added fit to it because, you know, that's what I'm doing, fitness. And that's how I became Warpath Fitness, yeah.
And it is a war, bro.
It is.
It's a war in your mind, in your feelings. You just battle that.
It's a battle, yeah. Exactly like what you said. It's a mental battle. It's a physical battle. And it's like, what better way to symbolize battle than war, you know, going through that hard time. So, yeah. And
it's an image of Christ, right? He died to himself. What does he say? Die to yourself.
Right. Exactly.
We're built in his image. And I think, you know, right now you just created that image.
Exactly. Yeah.
So how did you know that this fitness was going to be a bigger path for you?
I didn't, honestly. Like when I first started, I was trying to just fix myself. You know what I mean? I was trying to get myself healthy. I was just trying to get into a better spot, and I didn't know what it was going to turn into until people started kind of coming out and asking me for help, started asking me, hey, how did you do that? How did you get sober? How did you get your, your life back in order? And I was like, I got something here. You know what I mean? Like, that's what, really flipped the switch and said, like, I want to help other people feel how I feel now, because I know how I feel when I felt like crap.
Right.
And I know a lot of guys are struggling, mentally, physically, right? And we don't say it. I think a lot of guys fight this battle by themselves. And I was like, I need to be somebody that's going to put out what I went through, because I think a lot of guys too are scared to show their emotions or to share like all the struggles they've been through. So I was like, I'm gonna be that guy just to show everything. I'm gonna be real transparent, and I'm gonna see who I could help.
Right.
And going back to being of service, being a godly man, I was like, well, what better way to help other individuals than to completely transform them and give them their confidence back. So that's when I finally knew, like, okay, I have something here.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna start actually taking this and pursuing it. And I was doing HVAC for 15 years.
I saw that.
Yeah. I mean, it was cool. It paid the bills. I was making good money, but it wasn't like my purpose anymore. I woke up feeling like, another day, I got to do this, got to do that. And it was draining me, and I found something that actually gave me purpose and excitement,
right?
Which was this fitness thing, so then that's when I was like, okay, I'm going to take this on now, and I'm going to see how I could actually make this a lifestyle, a career, and that's what I did.
So what were some early struggles that going through this new transition that you were going through, or that you went through?
As far as like when I first started, when I wasn't really like,
when you knew, like, when you first made that decision, you know what, I got to change my life. Like, what were those struggles that you were still battling within when you got to a point where your mind was just clear?
Yeah, I mean, I still, like, even to this day, I still somewhat feel like I'm that 260-pound guy. You know what I mean? I look in the mirror still, and I still have that fat version of me.
Yeah.
That I'm like, I can't quit. You know what I mean? Like, I was at the point too where I was scared to bulk. I was scared to like gain weight, because I'm like, dude, I don't want to waste all the hard work that I just did.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of it was just a mental battle of like not wanting to go back to who I was. And then, and then too, like, other people like kind of in my head too, like, oh, it's just a phase, you're just going through your journey or whatever. So you hear it a lot of like, from the crowd. So I had to shut that off, and I had to really realize, like, I'm on my own path. I'm on my own journey. And so it was just mainly that,
You do get, as far as myself too, I get imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
Right? I'm sure you were going through that.
Yeah. I felt, I'm like, who am I to really like show a video of me like tracking my macros and telling people what to do.
Right.
I just felt I had that imposter syndrome. It's like, who am I? But then I'm like, dude, I'm somebody that got sober. I lost over 100 pounds. Like, I've gotten through a certain point where not a lot of people have gotten.
Yeah.
And man, I have some value to give. So that's when I just kind of like, I stopped doing that, stopped worrying about that, and put the focus off of me and put it more on, okay, who can I help?
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that's where a lot of people, if we start thinking that way, it alleviates a lot of that like stress or that fear. Okay. It's more being of service. I wake up every day like, who could I be of service to today?
That's a good mentality. Yeah.
And so if I'm like looking for who could I service, it's not about me. And there's a lot of times, bro, where I post a video, I'm like, dude, I hate the way I sound, I hate the way I look, but I'm like, it ain't about me, so who cares?
No, it's about the message.
I post it. Yeah, exactly.
No, that's good, man.
Yeah.
So you said you were HVAC.
Yeah.
So you basically burned the whole boat and just went all in on this business.
Yeah. Yeah, I had like 6 months of savings. I told my wife, I said, hey, we got 6 months saved up. I'm gonna give myself, 4 months to see if I could do this coaching thing. And if it doesn't work out, I'll go back. I'll go back to HVAC. And bro, like within 3 months, I was getting clients. I was actually transforming people. People were actually getting benefits from me. And it lit that fire to where at first, I wasn't making a lot of money,
right.
And I'm not in it for that, in the sense I have to obviously, provide, but I feel like as if I can focus on the value that I'm providing, the money's going to come.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's been true, 6 years already. I've had my bills paid, I've been able to, and there's hard months. Yeah, of course. But, God's taking care of me, and I'm a big believer that if you do the work and actually like invest in yourself and meet God halfway, he's going to open up doors for you. You know, but we got to do the work.
Yeah, you got to knock. I mean, you got to seek, right?
Yeah, and I think a lot of people leave it up just to God. Yeah. Well, if God wants me to have it, he'll provide for me. No, you got to show that you're putting in effort. You got to show that you really want it too.
Yeah.
And he'll meet you halfway, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
And that's where faith comes in.
Exactly, man. That's perfect. Well said. So when the transition, when you started to when you actually got fit, like when it started to show, what was that length of? Like, how long was that?
So the first year, I lost over 100 pounds. Okay. And this was during COVID. So there wasn't gyms open. I was doing a lot of home workouts, body weight style workouts. It really was, nutrition. 80% of it is nutrition. And that's what I tell guys. Like, if you get that part down, then you're going to be successful.
Right.
As long as you're staying consistent with that. And so, yeah, within the first year, I was down from 260 to about 145, 150-ish. But I didn't like the way I looked in the sense that I felt too skinny.
Right.
And a lot of people have this misconception of, oh, I got a lot of muscle underneath here. You really don't. You know what I mean? Like, that's at least what I realized. So that's when I was like, all right, now I need to start, reverse dieting and start building the muscle now. And it's a process, it takes time.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Awesome, bro. So I know I ran into your dad. Mm-hmm. He goes to my church.
Yeah.
How's that relationship with him and you? Is it
good?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. I mean, growing up, right? Like, we have our battles and we butt heads, but he was just trying to be a good father, and me being a knucklehead, I didn't want to listen, and he's had his past and he's had his struggles and stuff like that. So to me, I'm like, well, who are you to tell me what to do? You know what I mean? Like, that was my mentality back in the day.
Yeah.
But now I see, like, he was just there to help me, So yeah, the relationship with me and my dad is great. Yeah. I couldn't have asked for a better role model.
Oh, wow.
Cause he's a hard worker, man. You know what I mean? He provides, he does it all, he does it all. And now me being a dad and a husband, like, I see how hard it is.
Yeah. It's hard,
so I really appreciate what he's done for me.
Your mom and dad were in the picture?
Yeah, so they ended up, divorcing and stuff when I was about 15. But yeah, I mean, I grew up with both people in the household. It wasn't the best, but at least they were there,
right.
So yeah.
So being that we're Chicano, bro, like, how did the streets or the culture influence you?
Man, it kept trying to pull me back. You know what I mean? A lot of it too was family. Like, a lot of my guys that I hung out with was like my primos, my cousins and stuff. So they were still, doing the same thing, and I was over here trying to change. So you get those comments of, who are you, bro? Like, you're over here like trying to get all fit now. You know what I mean? You start getting like kind of that, and it does kind of mess with you at first, but then those same people are the ones now asking for the help. Right. Asking, well, hey, how do I get fit now? How do I do this? So, being Chicano, man, it's I wouldn't say impossible. It's just real challenging to be in an environment where we joke around a lot, but at the same time, I think we hold each other back too by talking, kind of crap on each other.
Yeah.
Like, who are you? You know what I mean?
Biggest critic sometimes is the family,
it's
bro.
the family, and that's why I tell people, man, like, don't pay attention to that stuff. Like, there's going to be haters, I always say there's two types of people in this world. There's going to be those that you inspire and those that you make feel insecure. And the ones that you make them feel insecure, it's because they see you doing changes that they're not doing yet, right? So they see you leveling up, they see you changing, they see you making all these positive changes, and they know deep inside they have to do it, but they just don't do it, or they haven't, taken the steps to do it yet. So it makes them feel insecure,
right?
But those guys that you inspire, man, they're the ones that are there all for you and inspiring. So keep those people there.
Yeah.
But the ones that are feeling insecure, like, also keep the door open for them. You know what I mean? Because they will come back around eventually.
And you kind of get it as a fuel to feel your new path.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, I'm going to show you.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to show you how it's done, and then I'm going to help you. Once you stop talking your crap, I'm going to help you do it. But you know how it is, bro. We have the best food in the world, I feel, with that too, it's like, it was difficult to stay on track. But now that I know, like, nutrition and, I tell people, man, food is food. Yeah. It's not good. It's not bad. It's just food. So if you know how to use it to your advantage and when to have it, you can still enjoy certain things, you know?
Right. It's like drugs, right?
Yeah.
Drugs are there. They could be helpful or they can harm you.
Right.
Same thing.
It's how you use it, you know, and your mentality with it too. So yeah, I think I had like a, you know, I mean, growing up, I mean, my grandma's telling me, finish your food, you know, don't get off the table until you're done.
Yep.
Well, that turned into me being an adult, the same exact mentality when it came to food.
Yep.
So I would stuff myself because no, we can't waste food, you know?
Yeah.
And that led me into being overweight, you know? So I try not to do that with my kids, you know, like do what you can, eat your protein though, make sure you're getting that at least, and just changing the mentality of how we talk.
Yeah, I think for me, I mean, I always battled with my weight. You know, I was a fat little kid too.
Yeah.
And even as an adult, you know, the beer bellies and just drinking. So I know how hard it is, especially with the grandmas always telling you to finish your food.
Yeah. I mean, and you're a Chicano too, right? So we go to birthday parties. I mean, there's more beer there than juice for the kids.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly. And it's a kid's birthday party.
And it's a kid's birthday party, exactly. You know, so it's like it's difficult, bro. Like that was probably another challenging part of it too, because I was an addict with alcohol. Oh, okay. You know what I mean? So it wasn't just food. I had the drinking as well. That was leading me into a destructive, you know, pattern.
Right.
So yeah, the drinking was my downfall. That was my biggest vice there. That turned into, you know, drinking, then here come drugs, and it was like that gateway for me, you know. Did
you ever find out what void you were trying to fill because you led to alcoholism?
Well, I started at a young age. I mean, I remember drinking at 5 years old, you know, finishing the rest of my dad's beer cans, you know, going and grab him another one. And I was right there finishing the last one and then giving him a new one. So I felt the feeling of the alcohol. I didn't like the taste of it, you know, when I was younger, but it made me feel good. And so I remember like at 5 years old, like, ooh, okay, this feels different. Like this feels good. And so every opportunity that I got to kind of sneak a drink here and there, I would do it. So I don't think like at that age, I mean, I didn't know about voids, you know, I didn't know about anything like that. But then as I got older, yeah, I mean, I was, you know, I mean, my parents split up, you know, I just, you know, my physique and seeing other people, you know, like I grew up, I was born and raised in San Bernardino, right? And then we moved to Fontana. We moved all around the IE. And then I eventually moved to Temecula, where it was a whole different scenery.
Right.
You know, me coming from like a Mexican type of Chicano neighborhood, going to Temecula, where it's all, you know, white people, I felt out of place. You know, I felt like, man, there's a lot of other guys out here. I'm not like them.
Right.
You know, so I think I was trying to fill that void of finding myself, trying to be cool. You know what I mean? And I think that's when I started really using it for that purpose.
To fit in
and be the cool guy and be the partier, you know, be the party guy.
So what about gang life? Did you ever get close to being in a gang or rolled with a gang?
I mean, I was around it. I grew up around it, you know, family was part of it, but yeah, luckily, no, I never got into it, you know, thank God, because the way I am and my addictiveness, I know it would have probably been bad, you know? So yeah, thank God I never did.
Right. Did you ever see yourself as respected to yourself or worthy in a sense of what you were dealing with? Like, or did that word even come up or?
No, I had no self-respect for myself, bro. Like that's why I was drinking, and that's why I used a lot of, you know, vices to kind of mask that, because I didn't feel confident about myself. I didn't feel like I was a respected guy. And I mean, I wasn't doing anything to feel that way. So no wonder, you know what I mean? I wasn't really investing in myself. I wasn't working out. I wasn't living a life that is respected. So of course you're not going to feel that way,
right?
You know, but then we use alcohol and drugs to try to feel that, when it should be the opposite. It should be like, okay, well, start finding ways to feel respected, you know, start working hard, provide value. So yeah, but yeah, I had no confidence whatsoever.
Got it.
Yeah.
Were you married then, or were you? Because now you're
during my transformation.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was married. Yeah. I already had kids and stuff like that. I was 30 years old when I started.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So your kids saw that other side of you, that old identity that you had.
Well, my oldest did. You know, she was little. So when I got sober and I completely stopped drinking, she was probably, well, this was 6 years ago. So she was around like nine years old. And then my other daughter was 7. And those are the two that I had. And then the other two started coming and stuff like that. But yeah, they saw dad being drunk, you know, they saw me living that life. And that's another reason why I had to change.
Yeah.
You know, I was pulling him into that lifestyle, and me being a Chicano man, I was macho, right? It's like, don't tell me what to do, you know what I mean? Like, I'm gonna go to work and I'm gonna come home and drink my beer.
Yeah.
You know, and the whole time they were telling like, Dad, like, don't drink this weekend, or the wife was telling me, you know, because me drinking, bro, is not a good thing. You know, I turned into a different person.
Were you a violent drunk?
I wasn't violent in the sense where I'd hit people and shit like that, but my words, you know what I mean? I'd say stuff that I didn't mean. I'd black out, you know. I just didn't have control of myself. I felt like I was just an ugly person. You know, I wasn't Richard. I wasn't me.
Right.
You know, so yeah, it had to stop. It had to stop.
Did you see a change in her as far as like how you were affecting her by you being the old identity?
Oh yeah, man. I mean, they would, yeah, of course. I mean, I think every child wants a sober parent, no matter what age they are.
Right.
You know what I mean? They want their parent to be them. You know, like, why would your kid want you to be somebody else? You know, and I feel like when we're not sober, we are a different person.
Yeah.
You know, so deep down inside, my kids knew when dad was off, when I was drunk, you know, when, even if I was nice, you know, when you start drinking, you start, oh, I love you. You start, you know, right? Saying stuff like, they're kind of like, okay, dad, you know what I mean? Like, you know, when somebody's drinking and they get annoying, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, of course they knew. Yeah.
So I know your wife's on this journey with you. Mm-hmm. How was that like before the whole transition?
As far as like our relationship?
Yeah, your relationship. I know you mentioned it a little bit, but the previous, you know, being that you got drunk, you said words that you didn't mean. Mm-hmm. How was that before your transition? And when you started transitioning, did she believe you? No, bro. I mean, even to this day, we're dealing with like trust issues and right, like a lot of things that come up, you know, past traumas and stuff like that from living that life so long. Right.
Yeah. I mean, we're still dealing with a lot of stuff and trying to overcome that, you know, and it's a challenge, man. It's a challenge. And that's why I tell people, like, you got to change, because it is going to affect others. It's not just you no more.
Right.
You know, especially with having a family, like, you think you drinking alcohol is just affecting you. It's not. You know, it's affecting everybody else around you. So, yeah, I mean, we were on the verge of a divorce. You know, she actually left. She's from Texas, so she moved back with the kids to Texas, and I came home to an empty house. You know, and I knew what had happened because she was telling me, you know, stop drinking. I wouldn't listen. You know, I was just doing my own thing, and yeah, I mean, that relationship, it wasn't working because I just wasn't providing. I was providing for them from a financial standpoint, but emotionally, I wasn't there, you know, so it did hinder our relationship big time.
With your new transition, how did it shift your marriage?
I mean, it obviously it got better, right?
Let me ask you, let me back up. What was that turning, like, was it a one word? Was it something that said, was it that moment that you said, I got to change this for my family?
So when I got home that day and I found I was an empty house, right? They left. That was the moment. You know, that was the moment where I dropped to my knees and I prayed to God, and I told God, please take this away from me. Like, I have no control when it comes to alcohol. I've already lost my family. You know what I mean? Like, I need help with this. And I just feel like this sense of like peace, or this sense of like, you know, him meeting me there at that spot and helping me get through that point. And that was, after that day, I didn't touch alcohol.
Wow.
You know what I mean? And that's how I know it was God, because me doing it on my own, I could never do it.
Right.
Never do it. But once I hit my knees and I made that prayer, I was like cured. Like, it was gone. I didn't even have the need for it, the want, the cravings, nothing. It was completely, until this day, I don't crave it. You know, so like, that's my testimony to where I tell people, pray to God and ask him, because he will give it to you, but you got to also be there too. Like I said, meet him halfway. You know, we can't say a prayer and then we're over here still having alcohol in the fridge. You know what I mean? Like, you have to meet him there. So yeah, man, that was like the big turning point for me, was dropping to my knees and surrendering. I had to surrender.
Yeah, that moment usually does it, man, when you ask God truly with your heart for that opportunity. And, you know, I'm glad that you were able to do that, because look at you now.
Yeah.
You know? How did that new mindset in your new walk with your fitness and your faith, how did it shift your marriage? Did it obviously you had to build that trust again, but was it a long transition, or was it were you able to bring them back? And
yeah, so I mean, it took. I mean, it's still happening. That's what I'm saying. You know what I mean? Like 6 years later, right? We're still dealing with a lot of stuff and just trying to get through it. And you know, I'm trying my best. She's trying her best, and we're just trying. But it took about like 6 to 8 months for them, I think, to finally come back from Texas. But even then, you know, she didn't believe a word that I said, because I told her that I would quit many, many times.
right.
And I would quit for maybe a weekend, I'd quit for a month maybe, and then go right back, you know? So of course you keep saying that, somebody's not going to believe you, you know? And so like, that's where the trust issues really came from, was like, you keep saying things, but then your actions don't match with it, you know? And so like, that's what I had to really like, okay, I need to stop talking so much, and I just need to start showing.
Yeah. No, we share a similar story. For me, it was just being unfaithful, you know, and it's like I could totally relate with you, because it did take me a while to get that trust, and after a certain point, they just stop believing. Yeah, they think you're a big liar, right? Which, you know, you technically we are.
Yeah, I mean, because that's what you're showing, right?
No, awesome, man. Yeah. So when it made you become a better father, did your kids also start to react different to you?
Oh yeah. I mean, the relationship shifted, you know, and they were little too. So, I mean, it was, you know, not too big of like a chain. We didn't sit down and have these like heartfelt talks and stuff like that, but it was just different, you know, the way that they acted, or the way I acted to them too, you know, giving them less attitude and just being there, being present. You know, I could be there, but if I'm drunk and drinking, am I really there? Yeah. You know what I mean? There's two different ways of being present. It's like you could be there physically, but not mentally. Yeah. Right. And so I think they felt that, they sensed that, even being kids. Like, that's why I say I think every child wants a sober parent, because they sense that, like, okay, dad's off. Something's different about him, you know? Yeah. And so, yeah, that relationship definitely, it improved big time.
How did you get her on board with your program?
She just started seeing the changes. I mean, she's been an athlete, you know, she played soccer her whole life. So, I mean, she was working out, and my wife is the type of person where like it's hard for her to gain weight. Like when she got pregnant, I gained the weight. She did it. So all the kids that we have, I'm the one that blew up, and she stayed small, you know? So she wasn't really like struggling as much as I was, but she just started seeing the changes of like how I was tracking my food and doing the whole macros thing. So little by little, she started asking like, well, what are you doing? Why do you weigh it out? Like little questions. And that's what kind of like, okay, she's interested. I think a lot of guys, like, you know, I hear a lot of my clients too, like, bro, I'm trying to get my wife on board, and I'm telling her, go to the gym with me. I'm like, that's not going to work. You have to show them, like, you have to do it with them. But if you tell your wife, hey, let's start going to the gym, you need to start losing weight, they're not going to respond to that, you know? So by you actually showing them, that's how my wife started coming around and being like, okay, you look different, but then now you act different too. The way you carry yourself, like, you're just a different person. So that's what got her really intrigued. Right. It was like, you're happier. Yeah, you look good. But then like the mental side of it was shifting. And she's like, I want some of that. So it's like, what do I do? How do I get my macros in check? So then I started helping her, and she just ran with it. She took it, and yeah, she's doing it now.
She looks great too.
Yeah, she's helping like all the women, man. Like, she's an awesome coach. Like, that's why we separated, because I do the men, she does the women, for that reason, because I don't know what women are going through, right? Like menstrual cycles and all that stuff, bro. Like, let me just coach men. You can coach the women. And so I'm glad that it worked out that way, because now we have an actual like team, you know, we could actually help both sides.
So she has her own clients, and you have obviously yours, right?
Right. So, but they're still doing like the same program, you know, so even like couples are getting on board together. Wow. And the men have their program, the women have theirs, but it's also together in the sense where they're doing it at the same time. Yeah. You know, so helping each other.
Yeah, and I think for husband and wife to get into business, they both have to be on the same page. Yeah. Sometimes, you know, the woman wants to overpower the man, or you're working too much. And I think if she is in the same arena, it just makes it way better.
Yeah, it does. And we do everything together. You know what I mean? We work together. We train together. Like, not in the same, like, we don't train with each other, but we're at the gym all the time together. You know what I mean? So it's good and bad, you know, because we're always together. But, you know, it's a good thing to where it's helped our relationship, you know, where, man, we're building that empire,
right,
you know, and showing the kids.
And then the love and respect came with that, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Cause I mean, when you're going through like a hard journey together, right? Like you respect that person a lot more. You know, when you go through battle or you go through a difficult time with somebody, like you have that testimony, that story to share. So yeah, it's definitely helped us.
Awesome. So how did you connect the faith into the fitness?
I mean, I think it goes hand in hand, right? Like how I developed Warpath Fitness, right? Like it's a mental battle. So, I mean, the faith just automatically came into it where, you know, you have to have discipline when it comes to faith in the sense of like, you know, there's times where you're not going to want to read your Bible. Right. There's times when you're not going to want to work out. So it's the same thing. So if you could apply that same discipline that you do with fitness and nutrition over to your faith, you know, that right there, that's the perfect recipe to where you're going to still be able to, you know, do what you want despite how you feel, you know? So yeah, I mean, I transfer both of them because while I'm working out, man, I'm praying, you know what I mean? Like, my sense is like, if I'm in a negative mindset, I have to be doing something positive, mixing it with a positive, like pattern of thinking. And that's what changes my mentality. So I'm working out, doing something positive while thinking positive things. That changes my whole mentality into a positive state, you know?
Did your faith get stronger after you saw that what God did for you, for your family?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Of course, man. You know, he changed me 180, you know, degrees. So it's like, I know for a fact that wasn't just me, you know? And so like, that's what really opened my eyes to where it's like, I've always believed in God, but like, that was just the proof right there.
Right.
You know? So yeah, definitely it goes hand in hand.
What do you do when life gets heavy?
Pray, read my Bible, you know, as hard as it is. And I'm not perfect, you know what I mean? So yeah, it's easy to say that, but there's times where I stress, I worry. And then that's what reminds me of like, no, I should be praying, you know, I should be putting this into God's hands, you know? And so like just this past like week or two, man, I've been having like just difficulties, right? Just mental battles and stuff like that. So it's forced me to pray more, you know? And I think sometimes that's God's way of like settling you down a bit. You're going too fast and you need to slow down, you know, and you need to reconnect with me. And so I think right now that's what he's doing with me. Cause these past 2 weeks, man, I've just been battling, you know, having mental battles big time, you know? So I've just been praying and getting through it, you know, getting through it one step at a time.
Yeah. What do you do when you feel like you want to fall off or you lose focus?
I mean, just like everybody else, right? I have those moments, but, I mean, I look at my family, I look at my kids, you know, and it's like, I can't. They're depending on me. Right. You know what I mean? So it's like, and really, if I think about it, like how bad is my life? It's really not that bad. So why am I, you know what I mean? Like over here wanting to quit or wanting to not pursue this life. I have such a great life. You know what I mean? I think we get caught up in, we live in America, man, where everything's available to us. You know, try living in a third world country or something like that. Now you have real problems. But the problems we have right now, they're not real. You know what I mean? It could easily be fixed. So yeah, I just put my faith back into God and look at my kids and keep going, bro. Yeah. Keep going. There is no room to stop. Right. I came too far. I can't. Yeah.
How do you aside from your fitness, how do you help others see that it's more than just building muscle, that it's building like a spiritual stronger self of you?
I mean, it's through the work, you know, through the work of doing it. That's how you show people, man. It's, you know, you got it just like lifting weights, right? Like it's reps, repetition. So always doing it, you know, always praying, always reading. Once you can mix that all together and you realize it's all the same thing, right? Fitness, faith, finances, it's all developed through the same systems, you know, through discipline, you know, through all this stuff that you have to do to maintain that. It's it all comes together, you know. So I feel like it's all the same thing. It's all connected. Right. Yeah.
So what are some of those things that make you stay disciplined?
I mean, working out. I mean, my discipline is just I do the same things over and over and over again. Like I live a boring life. You know what I mean? Like I try to keep it real simple. I eat the same foods. I go to the same place every day, the gym, you know. It's just me simplifying everything. I think we have a lot of like too much going on sometimes, when if you could just weed all that stuff out, man, it's not really needed, and just get real simple, get down to the point. And that's what keeps me on track. You know, I don't focus about politics and what's going on in the world, because guess what? I can't control that. So I control what I can,
right,
and then just deal and manage with the stuff that I can't, and leave that up to God, you know.
What does your meals look like usually?
Just depends like where I'm at, you know. It depends. It's sometimes week by week, you know. So I have a coach. I have my own coach.
Oh, okay.
And so, you know, I check in with him all the time, and it's really up to, you know, him on what I'm eating. I don't really do the macro thing. I mean, I track my macros, but I eat the same meals. So I don't do the if it fits your macros, where I have the freedom to choose my own food. If I wanted to, I could, but me personally, I like to eat the same thing, because I know what it does to my body.
Oh, okay.
Right? I'm already knowledgeable on, okay, if I eat chicken, rice, sweet potatoes, I know the outcome, and I know the look it's going to give me. So why change it?
Right.
You know? And so mine's real cut and dry, bro. I mean, I eat fish, chicken, you know, I'll have top sirloin for the red meats. And then my protein, I mean, my carbohydrates are going to be like potatoes, rice, oats. I usually just pick like 3 of each one. So 3 proteins, 3 carbs, let the fats kind of handle themselves. Real simple. Real simple, cut and dry. Don't want to make it too complicated, you know.
Because you're competing right now, right?
No, well, I'm not. I'm going to be competing next year, but yeah, I compete. So I'm going to be probably competing in March, April, and then hopefully in July for nationals.
Mm-hmm. So what does that workout look like? Do you get up super early? Do you work out? What's your regimen look like?
So I get up, I do, again, it just depends like where I'm at, right? So like right now looks a lot different than when I'm going to be on prep. So, I mean, right now, I wake up and I do my fasted cardio, get ready, take the kids to school. I'll have my first meal after that, and then make a few phone calls, do what I got to do, and then I'll head to the gym around 11 o'clock, do my workout, and then after that, just continue my work, you know, either training clients, checking back in with online clients. During that whole time, I mean, I'm eating my meals, you know, every 2 to 3 hours. So I'm real... what would you say, structured. You know, every single hour is accounted for. I have a calendar that I follow. My meals are inputted into the calendar. My rest is inputted into the calendar. My sleep is inputted, so I know when I'm going to bed, when I'm hitting my rest time. Everything is just structured. Yeah. You know, so, and it'll just change based off of, like I said, if I'm in prep, or, you know, if I'm eating a little bit more, then there's going to be more meals to eat, you know, so, but like I said, everything just has to be, to me, planned out.
Yeah, you're very structured,
very structured,
analytical too, huh?
Yes. I like to see numbers. I like to see the data. That's how I base my adjustments off of. So like I have spreadsheets for my weight. Wow. I have spreadsheets for my macros when I change them. So yeah, I'm real detailed when it comes to that.
How long did it take you to be this structured?
I'd say like after like 2 years of doing it, you know, consistent, that's when I got more into it. The first year or two, I was just like everybody else, just kind of, you know, doing it as like a lifestyle type thing, just trying to get better. Right. But then once I started like maybe thinking about competing or taking it another step, that's when I got real detailed with it. Yeah, the average person doesn't have to do all that. You know what I mean? Doesn't have to have spreadsheets and doing all that. I always recommend people track their meals. You got to know how much protein, fats, and carbs you're having. And that's pretty much it, you know, for the average person.
But you just gave a perfect picture of a business, you know, because for me, I have a business, I have a construction company, and when I track things, it allows me to see things. Yeah. Like I need to improve this, or I need to do less of this, or get more projects. So I mean, that's a business mentality right there. Yeah,
and that's why I treat it like that. I mean, it is my business, right? You know what I mean? Like I am my billboard. So if I don't look right, man, you come to me and it's like, hey, I could be your coach, but I look like crap. You're gonna be like, I don't want to look like you. You know what I mean? So that's where I think of it. Like I have to be detailed like that because I mean, my business depends on it. Yeah. You know, and you're right, because when you don't track things, it's very easy to lose sight of where you're at. And then by the time you know it, you don't even know like where to fix things. You're just too far gone. You know, that's where people wake up like, dude, I don't even know how I'm like 60 pounds overweight now. Yeah. Like what happened? It's like, well, obviously it didn't happen overnight. You know, there's things happening. So yeah, I just try to make sure I'm like that across the board. Fitness, finance. I even take, notes for my Bible studies, everything.
Yeah, because I mean, for me, like I said, construction, for me, I see it all the time, man. And construction guys, they drink heavy.
Yeah.
And a lot. I mean, you're there. I mean, I'm in concrete, so as they're finishing, they go to the truck, crack one open, and they're just drinking. And there's guys that are overweight, great finishers, man. But I'm like, man, you guys gotta stop, because I stopped drinking probably like 2 years ago as well.
Yeah, you feel better?
Oh yeah,
yeah. That's what I tell people. I mean, even though you're killing it, like, one guy's like, "Well, I'm killing it. I'm making all this money. I take care of my family." Like, hey, that's no worries, bro. But just imagine how much better you could be. Like, why limit yourself there? You know what I mean? Like, man, remove it at least for 6 months, see how you are, and you'll see a difference.
Yeah, because you get foggy brain, bro.
You do.
You wake up just different.
Well, it's toxic. You know what I mean? It's literally poison, right? It's poison, and that's what gives us the feeling, because our body is literally, being under the influence of something,
right?
And so it's not made for us to have and ingest, and that's why when you overconsume it, you get sick. You start throwing up. Your body rejects it, So yeah, the brain fog thing is one thing I really realized when I stopped drinking. I could just think clearly.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, it was just like, whoa, like, this is a whole new world that I'm in. I couldn't believe all the things I was missing,
Yeah, it's crazy, man, what alcohol could do. I think, for a long time, my son, I have a 26-year-old son. Okay. He battled with that too. And because, I was a father at 16. So I did a lot of stupid shit.
Yeah.
That just messed him up mentally. And he's one of the, he's a person that fell into that to fill that void. Yeah. And it's like, man, like I asked for forgiveness, and, I started talking to him, like, because I had to do that with my father. I had to forgive my father for what he did and all the stuff I saw. So yeah, that's hard, man. But it is hard. It is hard. And that's why I tell people, like, you might not have the problem. Like, you change, but like, let's say you were the type of person where, like, alcohol didn't really affect you that way. But what about your son? Like, he's watching you, and he's over here like, well, my dad does it. Like, I can do it. But then he's the one that has the addiction. Yeah. Right. So you literally just led your own kid into an addictive pattern from him just seeing what you're doing every day, and that's what I think about also. It's like, I don't have no alcohol in the house. I don't have none of that. So my son is literally going to have to see that from somewhere else if, he's going to get into that. Is it 100% preventable that he's never going to drink? No. But at least it's one step, that he has to cross to where it can kind of hopefully limit that and stop that, But yeah, I mean, you might not be the one with the addiction, but somebody watching you. You could have somebody trip. Or, they see you drinking and driving and you're cool. You never got a DUI, but then your son does it and bam, he gets popped. Yeah. Now he has a DUI, or even worse, he hurts somebody or hurts himself. So just think about it. You know what I mean? That's all I tell people. Yeah, I know that's true, man. That's so true. That actually did happen to me. My son got a DUI and that really changed him. So yeah, I mean, with DUI, I have, I've gotten them too. So it's like 10 years, it's going to be on your record, all this money, like, all for what? Something that could have been prevented. Yeah. I tell people DUIs are 100% preventive, right? Just don't get behind the wheel. You could drink, just don't drive. Right. Call an Uber or call a friend, But so do you have clients that you go to as far as like when you're working out, you're working them out at the gym or? Yeah. Yeah, I do in-person training as well as online. So yeah, I have quite a few clients that are, they meet me at Metroflex, and that's where I train all my in-person clients and their hour sessions. So some guys are hybrid athletes where they're on my online program as well as being in person. So like with that, we work on a lot of things that, maybe they're struggling with when they're on their own. And then we link up together and we fix those issues, right? Then I had people that just solely in person, and I just meet them there and we work out, get their session in, and they're good. And then I have people like yourself, where it's all online, right? They do their own workouts on their own time, they eat their own meals, but I'm able to help them at the gym and outside the gym, whereas in-person training, you get a personal trainer, he's helping you at the gym. Once you leave those doors, that's it. It's all you. Yeah. It's all you up to that point. So that's where you have to kind of weigh your options and see, like, am I somebody that really needs accountability around the clock?
or I just want to be shown what to do, and then I can kind of take it the rest of the way there.
Got it.
Yeah.
So what would you say to a man that's struggling with staying consistent?
Pick something that you can do consistently and start there, right? So I tell people, pick like one thing that you struggle with. Maybe it's waking up early, okay? And let's say your goal is to wake up at 5 a.m. Right now you're waking up at 7, right? Well, let's set a form up, or let's set some type of system where you push that clock back half an hour, right? The first week. So now you're waking up at 6:30. The following week, wake up at 6, right? And then just do that consistently until you get to that 5 a.m. Now, once you get to that 5 a.m. marker, now that's over with. Now pick something else, right? Now it's my protein. It's been very hard for me to stay consistent hitting my protein. So I got the sleeping down. Now I'm going to make sure that I'm eating 50 grams of protein my first meal. Start there, do that all week, right? So if you see the steps, we're picking things. Once we master them, we're removing it. We're still doing it though, but we're removing it from that list, and then we're replacing it with something else. So you'll see over time that you just developed all these skills or all these different things that you use, but you did it a step at a time. And then you look back a year from now and you're like, bro, I just did like 5 things that was brand new, that was very hard for me, and I do it on a consistent basis now.
Yeah.
You know, so baby steps.
Yeah, because I think that's one of the biggest downfalls of people, right? They just try to go all in. They get super sore, like for a gym, right? They go super sore, and now they stop going.
Yeah, they're too sore to sit down on the toilet, and they're like, dude, I can't go tomorrow. You know what I mean? So that's why I tell people, take it easy, take it slow. Like, it's not a rush. Like, enjoy the process.
Yeah.
You know, fall in love with the journey, and I guarantee the results are going to come if you do that.
Right.
You know, if you fall in love with the person that you're becoming during the time, it's going to turn into the results at the end of the day, because you are going to do it every day.
Right.
You know, but yeah, people are like so gung-ho with it, man. They just go all out. And that's kind of, you know, probably, you know, setting you up for failure at that point, you know?
Yeah. No, that's so true, man. So if your story could teach one lesson, what would it be?
Don't give up, man. You know, you can start at the lowest pit, and, you know, at the end of the day, if you work hard and never give up, you could change your whole life. Right. And it doesn't really take that long. You know what I mean? I mean, within a year, I completely reinvented myself. 365 days, you know? But I was doing it every single day. And the moment I dropped and I failed, I got back up and I continued. It wasn't the, I missed a meal on Tuesday, I'll start back up next Monday.
Right.
No, just start right then and there that next time. So yeah, if my story can show anybody anything, it's just don't give up, man, because you are probably a lot closer than you think. It's just the fact that, you know, and nobody's different than anybody. It's just the fact that those are successful are the ones that just didn't quit.
Right.
They kept going.
Yeah.
You know,
that's true, man. It's like a sport, right? A boxing, especially right now. Like, let's just talk about Canelo. He lost some fights after Mayweather, and what did he do?
Yeah,
just continue to win, man.
Continue. And it's like, what are you gonna do, bro? You're just gonna quit? You know what I mean? Like, to me, I'm not like that. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if it's just the way I was born or whatever, but like, I don't see myself stopping anything just because things get hard.
Right.
And I know it happens. I mean, I've done it before, but there's no point to it. You know what I mean? It's just like, you're gonna, like, time's gonna go by anyways. You might as well continue trying. You know what I mean? 6 months are gonna go by. So what are you gonna do? You're gonna quit, or you're gonna use those 6 months? You know, just keep going, man.
So what would you say your life's purpose is now?
Serve others, man. Just help others, serve others, be of service to other people, and just value. Try to provide as much value as I can. I feel like if we can change ourselves, that's one way that we can change the world, right? Because we're doing it one person at a time, which is starting with us. And I think a lot of people, they struggle with, they want to help other people, but they're not even helping themselves right now, right? So you got to master yourself first before you can try to help and master other people.
So what would you help? How would you help men, not only in the fitness but in the mental state too? How do you help them?
Just showing them, man, like every single day. You know what I mean? Like, with people like, let's say discipline, right? Somebody wants to be disciplined. They want to have that disciplined mentality and be somebody that just gets stuff done. How do you do that? Right. You know, so we use fitness, we use nutrition in order to form that discipline. So if you have, 4 to 5 meals that you have to hit every single day, hitting those numbers, hitting those macros perfectly, that's 4 to 5 opportunities that you have to practice your discipline every day. It's up to you. You can quit, you can not hit it, right? You can fall off, but that's your choice. Same thing with the workout, right? You can miss the workout, you can blame it on your sore, or you could just go and get it done. So we use that. There's 4 to 5 opportunities there through your macros, an opportunity through your training, early wake up time. You have all these opportunities that you're forming that discipline, and that's how you become mentally strong. Right. Is by doing the stuff you don't want to do. So doing the hard stuff, basically.
Right. So, being in the industry, that your space, there's a lot of coaches coming up. Mm-hmm. What separates you from the average coach?
I mean, like I said in the beginning when I first started here, right? I haven't always been that guy that's in shape. I've struggled. I've been where a lot of, those of you guys that are out there that are maybe looking for a coach, or you guys are struggling, I've been in your exact shoes. So I know exactly what you're experiencing. I know the mentality. I know the feeling of looking in the mirror and just disgusted with yourself. You know what I mean? And just being like, damn, like, how did I let myself go so far?
Yeah.
I've been there, So when clients come to me and they have excuses or they have something going on, it's like, bro, that's an excuse. You know why? I've used that one before. So don't try to pull that on me, So yeah, just having compassion for people because I've been in their exact situation. I think that's what makes me a great coach from that standpoint. Plus, I still have a coach myself. I still invest in myself. So having that where I'm not only like stopping my learning, I'm continuing to always learn from other people. And then I apply what I learn to my clients as well. So yeah, I'm investing in myself, but I'm also giving all that knowledge to you guys too, right? So bro, I've invested over $50,000 into myself from education, coaching, mentorships, mastermind events, all kinds of stuff across the board. Just to get me like where I'm at right now. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so that's what you need to do. You need to invest in yourself if you want to get to a spot. You can't really do it, without that.
Right. No, that's key right there. Yeah. Because you said that, and I think that's why I wanted to go with you, because you have a coach. That means you're getting all the value and you're going to bring it into our sessions.
Yeah.
So that's key right there.
Yeah. And my coach, he's a IFBB pro. You know what I mean? Like I'm learning from guys that are actually like in the space doing it and successful with it, And so like I pick a lot of knowledge from them, and I'm just able to relay that same thing, And then what I do is I pick from, each person I learn, and I've developed my own way of doing it. So now it's unique to me.
Exactly.
And then I just pass that on to other people, and it works for them. So that's how I know it works, because not only has it worked for me, it's helped hundreds of other guys too. Yeah. So it's like a proven system.
And that's good right there, because not the thing that your coach is doing that won't work for you, but you have to tailor it to yourself.
Exactly.
Now you develop something that you could bring and, apply it to other people. That's good right there.
Yeah. You need to, and I think a lot of guys are scared to invest in themselves because they feel it's like, well, I don't have the money, right? Like I'm wasting it. It's not a waste. It's not a waste because money's always going to come, right? Like if you think about it, you get paid every week or every month. So that always comes, but the time is never going to come back.
Shortcuts.
Yeah, you're never going to get that back. So if I can pay somebody that I know that money will eventually come back, but I could pay them to accelerate that time, something that took me 1 year would take me 6 months if I invested in it. I have 6 months now that I just accelerated that progress. Now I have like an extra 6 months to do what I want with it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Instead of sitting there trying to still figure it out.
Yeah.
And then leaves me to be frustrated, and then I quit. That's where a lot of people quit.
It's a quantum leap. You're basically leaping, bro, like when you hire a coach.
It's a hack. It's a life hack. You know what I mean? And getting around somebody that is successful, like that's a hack in itself right here. If you see somebody that's successful in an area that you want to be in, watch what they do and copy it. Exactly. Copy it. Make it your own, obviously, right? But like copy exactly what they're doing. You will be successful.
The blueprint.
The blueprint. It's there. It's there. And I don't know why many people don't do it. You just got to reverse engineer it, work backwards. And
I think it's the accountability for themselves because they don't respect themselves as much.
Right. Yeah.
So
that's a big one. That's a big one is accountability.
Yeah.
Either having accountability from somebody or holding yourself accountable. There's no other way to really be successful without that.
Because, I think, you're going back to what you said, it's not about you. So when somebody holds you accountable, it's like, if you have that the weight on your shoulder, like, man, I'm going to leave my coach down. You kind of start doing it more and more. And so people see it.
Especially if you pay money on it, you know what I mean? Like you got skin in the game now.
Yeah.
And at the beginning of my coaching, I used to help people like for free, right? I used to be like, hey, just come on, let me help you. They would never do it. They would never complete it.
Right.
And exactly. I would always have to be on them. I'm like, hey, bro, are you doing this, that? It was free. The moment they actually invested in it, they started doing it because they're like, I don't want to waste this money now, So it's like, you got to have skin in the game too and be willing to, like I tell people, you want to earn your spot.
Right.
You don't want handouts. No man wants a handout. Nah. They want to know like, hey, I earned this. Yeah. And that's what gives you that like satisfaction of like, I did this.
Right. Right. So being that this is a business for you, what's one of the hardest things that you're seeing now being in business for yourself?
I mean, things are constantly changing. You know what I mean? Like you develop a system, you learn it, and then by tomorrow, it's already done with. It's old. So always staying on top of things, learning the back end of a business, marketing, sales, right? Like that whole part, like technology, I suck at computers. I suck at all that stuff. So it's like there's a lot of stuff that I just am not knowledgeable about, but I'm glad I'm doing it because it's forcing me to get into new avenues.
Right.
And it's making me a better person. It's leveled me up big time.
Right on. So what's next for WarpathFit?
Man, I mean, down the line, I would love to open up a gym. I would love to open up my own space and, have clients, and coming in and out like a big gym, something that people can just have their own home and feel comfortable, So that's something like later down the line. Short-term goals, stuff in the future. I want to make it to nationals for competition. So that's why I want to compete in March and then hopefully qualify in July. So that's a short-term goal there. And then just try to help as many people as I possibly can, while still obviously being there for my family, providing for them. And being an entrepreneur is hard, man. Like one of the biggest challenges that I face is being able to balance it all with family and life and learning when to turn things off. Like I work from my phone. Yeah. So always constantly being on my phone all the time. 9-10 o'clock at night, I'm, laying down, I'm still on my phone. And it's just like, I got to turn it off. So that's been a big challenge for me is like just being able to like separate that, right? Finding ways to do that.
But does your wife understand that?
She does, yes and no, you know what I mean? Cause obviously, she wants the family time and spend time, but then she knows I have to work and provide. And so it's hard because we're both in it and we're both doing it. And, it's a unique situation because we have to be on social media. Yeah. And sometimes social media brings issues, right? With relationships and all that.
People in your DM, especially women.
Exactly. You know what I mean? And so like we've had to go through that and stuff. And so I try to be respectful and I try to, 9 o'clock, all right, let's turn it off. Let's try to show her that she's important to me. Versus always on my phone. Right. So there's many little challenges that come with that.
So how did you end up meeting your wife?
Funny story, man. So I was on house arrest and I had my anklet monitor on and I couldn't leave anywhere. And my wife's originally from Texas. So her mom lived 2 doors down from me and she was visiting her mom for the summer. And my little brother, he's 5 years younger than me, he knew her little sister. And they went to school together. The sister lived with the mom. And I saw my wife and she was outside. I think she went from like the car inside the house or something. And I'm like, me being on house arrest, I couldn't leave nowhere. So I was just chilling in front on my garage. And I'm like, who's that? You know what I mean? And I knew everybody that walked up and down that street because I was always out there. And so I was like, I asked my brother, I'm like, hey, who's over there at the house? Oh, that's, Christiana. She's, so-and-so's sister. I'm like, well, what is she doing here? Like, where's she? Oh, she's from Texas. Give me the whole rundown. my friend, he was leaving to the Army, and we were going to throw a big going away party for him. And so I told everybody, well, throw it at my house. That way I can be there.
Yeah.
'Cause I can't leave nowhere. And so they ended up, doing it. We did a big bonfire, and I was like, hey, invite her over. I want to meet her. And I was like, don't tell her I'm on house arrest, nothing of that stuff. I was like, just invite her over here. Long story short, she came over, we talked, and, we were drinking and stuff like that. I ended up getting her kind of, drunk, messed up. And so she went home and she felt sick. And I thought that she just wasn't into me. You know what I mean? Because I came back and I'm like, wait, where'd she go? And her cousin was like, oh, she went home. She got tired. And I'm like, all right, no worries, So I went about my day, and I was like, well, can I get her number? And so I ended up getting her number from her cousin. And the next day I text her, I'm like, hey, you doing all right? Come over. And so she came over, and we literally just hung out every single day from there.
Nice.
Like, she did my time with me. You know what I mean? 6 months she was there hanging out in the garage with me. We were playing pool. We just formed this friendship
alliance.
This just cool friendship. And I always told her, as soon as I get out of here, I'm gonna take you on a date. And she would laugh and be like, yeah, whatever, da, da, da. I'm like, no, I promise I'm gonna take you on a date. And so yeah, man, the minute she actually went with me to get it taken off. And as soon as I was off, I took her to the movies. We went out to eat. Man, we were young, so we went out to Carl's Jr. and got some McChickens, or spicy chicken sandwiches.
Yeah.
And man, 4 kids later, 16 years.
Awesome,
Still
bro.
Here. Yeah. So yeah, that was a funny, unique story that how we met. And that's why I tell people, don't go out and look for people. They'll come to you.
Yeah. So what kind of legacy do you want to leave behind?
I want to leave my family, my kids with something tangible. That's why I want to open up the gym, and if they want to sell it or whatever they want to do at that point, that's up to them. But more so leaving them with values. Leaving them with work ethic.
Yeah.
Right. Leaving them, with something that they can actually use for the rest of their life, And so it's just through the work that I'm trying to provide that for them, and just showing them that, like I said in the beginning, no matter where you start, it doesn't matter. It's all about how you finish it and having a good positive attitude throughout the whole way.
Right. Awesome, man. Yeah. What would you tell your younger self? The old version of you.
Don't even start drinking, man. Don't start drinking, because that just led me into a lot of pain. And, to this day, it's still things that I'm dealing with, through the alcohol and through, like I said, the relationship issues that, came from that. I would just try to say, stay sober.
Yeah.
Sobriety is the way to go.
Was there forgiveness in your relationship, or how's that going? Did you guys?
Yeah, I mean, it's a work in progress.
Yeah,
it's a work in progress. We're still working on that part.
Yeah,
I
hear you, man.
And there's times where I think it's all good, and then something comes up, and it's like, all right, let's restart this over again.
Yeah,
and so that's hard.
The trust,
trust, and having kids there the whole time. Witnessing it, or, me and my lady, we just got over a big fight, and the kids were right there, and I walked away dang, I probably shouldn't have, done that in front of the kids or something like that. Right. So a lot of that kind of stuff, I'm still learning.
Yeah.
I'm still learning how to be a husband and a father.
Well, we never get it right, bro.
Never get it right.
It's always a work in progress.
Yeah.
Same with business, same with family, same with finances.
Yeah.
But, if we accept that responsibility, we can get to that, to a better state.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's all I'm trying to do, man, is just, I tell my family all the time, I'm never going to be perfect.
Right.
Ever. So don't expect that, but I'm always going to give you my best.
Right.
I'm always going to try for you guys.
Yeah.
So hopefully they see that.
No, that's great, man. I wanted to compliment you on your Warpath name. That's a sick name, bro.
Oh, thank you, man.
Yeah.
Thank you. I get a lot of compliments on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's pretty badass.
Thank you, bro.
So where can people find you?
Instagram. So Instagram, warpath.fit. I do have a YouTube, but I haven't posted on there for 3 years. So I need to get that started, but you can follow that. It's on YouTube, Warpath Fitness.
Okay.
And then all the other socials, TikTok, same thing, warpath.fit. Facebook, Warpath Fitness. So yeah, I'm on all those.
Cool. Any last words that you want to say to the viewer?
Just don't give up, guys. You know, there's going to be times in your life where you're going to feel like it's the end, but I guarantee you it's not, you know, and things always do work out in the end. So if it's not worked out yet, it's not the end. Keep your faith in God, you know, as long as you keep him number one, everything's going to be all right.
Awesome, bro. Bro, it's been a pleasure. It was fun. I really enjoyed this.
Thank you, brother.
And hopefully we could do it again soon.
Yeah, you let me know.
Awesome, bro.
All right, brother.
Thank you. Thank you so much for tuning into Hands, Heart, and Hustle. If this conversation with Richard Macias, WarpathFit, spoke to you, take a moment to reflect, subscribe, and share it with somebody who needs to hear it. Until next time, keep your hands working, your heart aligned, and your hustle growing with purpose.
The greatest gift that I got is grit. Resilient, I don't know how to quit. And I don't know what it is. You can call it innate, call it what you want, I'm calling it.